I left him, baby. Let me tell you this right now. Don't get mad, get gone. When somebody treats you in a way that's less than what you deserve, baby, you don't get mad, you get gone, okay? Some of y'all are dealing with hurt, pain, trauma, and everything else that you don't need to be dealing with right now because of the fact that you don't know when to leave. You're sitting up here sticking with somebody who's proven that they don't desire to change, they don't know how to change, or even if they do know how to change, they're not willing to change, hoping somehow or another that your presence will teach them how to treat you, when what you're failing to see is that all you're doing is showing them that you are okay with how they treat you. Don't get mad, baby. Get gone. Get in here, get in here, get in here. Click like and click share. Let me know that you shared this video. I just washed my hair, so it's still a little wet right now. Okay, but we got my curls in here, all right? And to somebody, I think someone asked me about a week ago, he says, is that a toupee? I do not wear a toupee. This is my actual hair, as you can see by the water and conditioner is still in my scalp. But anyway, no, it's not no doggone toupee. I shake my hair out like that. Anyway, don't get mad, get gone. Thank you so much for sharing this video. When y'all share this video, and I got a story for you, okay? When y'all share this video, let me know you shared it, all right? That way I can thank you. Oh my God, thank you already. Rochelle and Suzanne who shared this video. B. Brown who shared this video. When you share it, just write in the video, write in the comments, I shared it, all right? Let me tell you a quick story, okay? Y'all know how y'all love my stories, okay? So I want you to picture it, okay? I was a young thing, okay? And I remember I was out and about, and at that time in my life, I really did want to be in a relationship. I really wanted to be in a relationship. Like, every time I went out to a party, a bar, whatever it was, in the back of my mind, I was hoping, thank you so much, Connie Brown, for sharing this video. I was hoping deep down inside of me that I would be able to meet somebody who could be my match. Can you relate to that? So anyway, I remember this one particular night, I was out and I met this particular guy. I was standing there, Brittany Nicole, who just shared this video. I was standing out and about and I saw this guy. I was with some friends. I guess he was with friends. This is so long ago, I barely remember. But I remember the time that we made eye contact, right? When we first made eye contact, I was like, this man is stunning. I want you to picture this, okay? He had to be a good 6'2", 6'3", baby. I'm barely 5'7", 5'8", okay? So he's much taller than me. Thank you so much, Georgie Brodus, who shared this video, as well as Tarisha March, who shared this video. And so we were looking at each other, right? And I'm like, this guy is gorgeous. But in my mind, I was like, he's not looking at me. You know, I'm someone, I've never really had issues with the way I look. I've never had insecurities about that. Thank you so much, Marva Logan and Angela Hall, who shared this video, as well as Sheila Malone and Lori Goodman, who shared this video. I've never been deeply insecure about the way I look, but I never thought I was like the most attractive person on earth. So I was like, he's extremely attractive. Like, I feel like he's out of my league. Why is he looking at me? Is he really looking at me? And so I kind of looked past him. I didn't really want to stare at him, right? The next thing I know, he comes over to me and he says, hey, how are you? I said, you talking to me? Thank you, Tish Yates. He said, yes, I'm talking to you. How are you? And he looked, you know, have you ever had a tall, handsome man just looking at you, but he's taller than you, so you're looking at him, he's looking down on you? He's like, yeah, how are you? Did just that, just like LL Cool J used to do back in the day. How are you? I said, I'm good. He said, all right. My name is, let's make up a name for him. My name is Paul. I said, nice to meet you, Paul. And when I reached out to shake his hand, he grabbed my hand and pulled me closer to him. Not forcefully, but pulled me closer to him. And he said, nice to meet you. So by this point in time, he's right in front of my face. Right in front of my face, right? Right in front of my face. Thank you, Angela Brown, who just shared this video. And to the rest of you, when you thank you for clicking like and clicking share. And when you share this video, let me know you shared, okay? So I'm standing here. My heart's going ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Okay? Now, I know some of y'all are watching with your kids. This is going to be totally PG, okay? It's not going to be any crazy stuff going on here, okay? I'm telling you that in advance. So you don't have to worry, okay? So anyway, I'm like, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And I said, it's nice to meet you too. And he said, your glass is empty. So I have my little glass in my hand, Melissa Kaysen, who just shared this video, as well as Miss Condele, who just shared this video. Gwen Bright said, call my name, baby, share my video. I love you too, baby. And so he said, your glass is empty. I said, it is. Are you going to fill it? Baby, I may have been shy, but a girl still got game. I said, are you going to fill it? He said, yeah, what you drinking? I think I had ginger ale. I said ginger ale or something. He said, you don't drink nothing stronger than that? I said, no, I like to keep my focus. He says, okay. And he was quick. He said, well, what are you focused on right now? I said, you. Girl, we was sitting there. We were just going back and forth, going back and forth. We were having somebody where we're like, you flirting, they flirt. We having a good time, right? I said, you. He said, okay. And then so he pulls the little bar stool and then to sit down at right behind him. And then there was one in front of him. And he said, you want to have a seat? And I sat down and he grabs the bar stool by the legs and pulls me closer. Like I slid close to him, right? Very strong. Thank you so much, Life of T, who just shared this video. And I said, I was just like, oh my God, right? And so she had a picture of this tall, masculine man. And we start talking. He was the nicest guy. He had a good job. This was in DC at the time. So, he had a really good job. Really smart. He was a couple years older than me. At the time I was in my 20s. He was a little bit older, not that much older, a couple years. And we just had an amazing, amazing conversation. We went from talking to laughing to everything else like that. It was not no heavy flirtatious energy. It was just this light energy of two people who both understood one another's humor. Thank you so much, Vicky Della Pena, who just shared this video and gave me stars. And Preskar Mayange, who just shared this video. We just were talking and laughing, and it was just such an amazing, amazing experience. It was just totally great. It was totally it was a wholesome experience. You know what I mean? It was wholesome. So anyway, we're sitting here. Thank you so much, Romaine Wilkins, who just shared this video. And the night was going on and on. And I remember the person working behind the bar came over and said, would y'all like anything else? I didn't want anything else at all. I had my ginger ale. I probably had like 4 of them at that point in time. I was like, no, I'm fine. I think he was drinking water or Coke or something like that. He wasn't drinking anything crazy. And so they're like, well, we're about to close up. So the person behind the bar says, so have y'all exchanged numbers yet? It was a woman, okay? And she said, have y'all exchanged numbers yet? And she was a woman who reminded me like of one of my aunts, okay? I'm going to call her Sheila just for now, okay? And so Sheila said, did y'all exchange numbers yet? I was like, oh! And she winked like that. And I was like, we didn't. I said, but I don't know if he wants my number. And then so she looks at him and says, you want his number? And he said, thank you so much, V Brown, for the stars. And he's like, yeah, I want the number. So we exchanged numbers. Right? I went ahead. I went out, walking out to my car. Thank you so much, Alicia Martin, for sharing. Alicia Martin, who just shared this video and sent me stars. So I went out walking to find my car. And he's like, no, I'll walk with you, right? So he walks in my car. It was, by this time, probably midnight. It was pretty late. Maybe even later than that, actually. And so he walks in my car, get in the car, very polite. I think like I tried to shake his hand and he said, can I at least have a hug, right? Thank you so much, Quazo Michele, who just sent me stars. So I gave him a hug. Very, 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 very demure, very appropriate, nothing crazy, right? So I go home, right? And as I'm driving home, I get a text message from him saying, it was really nice to meet you. He says, but let me know when you make it home safe, right? Thank you so much, Cynthia Williamson, who just shared this video, as well as Miss Cooper, who shared this video as well as Life of T for 500 stars. So as soon as I got home, I text him. And when I text him and say I made it home safe, immediately my phone rings at that point in time. Like my phone rings immediately. And he's like, hey, what's going on? I said, I'm good. And he says, do you mind if I video call you? So I think at this time, like iPhone video calls was around, right? I'm not trying to age myself, but I have to think back on what technology existed at certain times. Okay. I'm not a young gal. Okay. And so anyway, so he said, do you mind if I video call you? So he video calls me and he video calls me and he's in his apartment. And I remember he's like changing clothes, like brushing his teeth or whatever as he's talking to me. He's doing something like getting ready for bed, right? But he was clothed. There was nothing crazy. He's like brushing his teeth or changing clothes, whatever, for bed. And he was like, it was really nice meeting you. And I was like, yeah, it was nice meeting you too. He's like, am I a simp because I don't want to wait to see you again? And I had to see you tonight before I went to bed. Like I had to see you again. I love you too, Sheila Brooks Ducre, for sending me stars, and I love you for your support. He says, am I a simp because I didn't want to wait to have to see you again? That's why I'm doing this video call with you. I was like, well, you don't have to wait to see me again. You don't have to wait that long if you plan a date. He's like, you're right, I didn't plan a date. He's like, so what you doing tomorrow? I mean, I was like, you mean tomorrow, like, as in the day we're in right now? Because by this time, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, tomorrow as in, like, the day we're in now, like, later today? Or, like, tomorrow? He's like, I mean, like, when you get up in the morning, what do you want to do? And can I be a part of that? I was like, I'm not really doing much of anything tomorrow. I was just planning to get up. I'm going to go to the gym. I got to run and return some stuff to the store, exchange some stuff and go return this and do this, like an errands kind of day. He said, well, can I do that with you? Thank you so much, Sabrina, for my stars. It was Helena Harper. I said, yeah, if you want to. Yeah, if you want to, sure. And he said, all right, cool. He said, so just call me when you get up. I was like, but I'm going to the gym. I was like, so, I don't know if you have a membership at that gym. He's like, right. He's like, call me when you get up. I'll at least get up. And then that way, by the time you're done with the gym, I'll be ready. Because sometimes I take a little long to get ready. I laughed about it. I was like, okay. And thank you so much, Sharina Perry, as well as Carmen Irvin, for sharing this video. When y'all share this video, let me know you shared it. So anyway, oh my God, thank you, Gwendolyn Covington, for my stars. You sent me stars. I appreciate it when y'all send me stars. And so I was like, okay. So the next morning when I got up, I immediately texted him. I was like, hey, I'm awake. I'm about to go to the gym. I'll see you later, I guess. Because I didn't know what was planned, right? So I go to the gym. I'm trying to get my hair together. I don't want my curls to get all shrunken up together. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll let you know I'm done with the gym. He immediately FaceTimes me again. And he's like, literally, you can tell that he's still laying down with one eye open. He's like, hey, I just wanted to see your face. All right, cool. Go to the gym. Bye. I was like that. You see how my face is like this? I was like, I didn't want to show that in my face, but in my mind, I was like, I was swooning. Do you know how many bad dates I had gone on before him? Oh my gosh. Guys who barely would call you back. You give them your number. Can you relate? You give a guy your number. He never used it, or he used it for a couple days and then stopped using it, or he calls you, but then his intentions are not exactly what your intentions are. You know what I mean? Some of them move a little too fast. And so it's just like, so I was like, this feels so good. He's like, I felt good. I felt like I was like 15. Like, okay, I felt like I was like 15 talking to my crush. Thank you so much, Teresa Matt. So anyway, after the gym, I was like, hey, I'm just getting back from home from the gym. What do you want to do? He's like, I told you, I want to do whatever you're doing today. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so he said, I know you don't know me that well. He's like, so how about this? He says, why don't you we meet at the first place you're going to. You say you had to go to a store, so why don't we just meet there? I was like, it was some mall. Thank you so much, Laverne Brown. I was like, it's some mall. She's like, why don't we just meet there, right? And then, we can meet up there. Because, what was he supposed to do? He's supposed to come to my house and pick me up? That doesn't work. Not for the first date, no. And so I was like, okay, cool. All right. So he comes to meet me at my, at the mall. I said, I'll meet you inside. Cause I didn't want to tell him where I was parking, anything like that. Safety first, right? You can be swooning and infatuated, but safety first, okay? And so I was like, okay, cool. So we meet up at the mall. And I come in, I was just dressed regular. I didn't dress up. He was like just wearing sweatpants, like a little hoodie or whatever. We looked like we were just going out on a Saturday. We looked like you know how when a couple goes out on Saturday to do their errands, we look like that, okay? It was so cute. So anyway, thank you so much, Alina Ozy, for sharing this video. And so, as well as Uganda, Renee. So we're walking around the mall, and I had bags. I got different things, right? And he's like, give me that. So he takes it out of my hand, and he's holding the things for me. You know how when I tell a story, I give you all the details so you can really picture it. So he's holding my things for me. He's like, I got that. You ain't got to hold that, right? And even if he's holding my things, every time we walk the door, he's opening the doors for me. It was absolutely amazing. He's like, did you eat? We go eat. So we go eat, right? We're at the mall food court. We're eating. And as I'm eating, I look up, and he's just staring at me like this. And I was just like, I had my fork. I was like, what? Like, I was kind of nervous. I was like, what? And he's like, I can't believe I met you. I was like, what do you mean you can't believe you met me? He's like, all right, so I don't mean to come across as strange, but I've seen you like twice before. I was like, for real? He's like, yeah, I've seen you. Like, I've seen you before in different places. I was always afraid to walk up and say something, so that's why I said something. He's like, so I'm just happy we met, and I'm happy that we got to see each other. He's like, because, sometimes you meet people and they say they're going to call you and they don't, blah, 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 blah. He's very vulnerable. I was like, yeah. So we ended up spending the whole day together, going here, going there, going to this store, going to that store. Before I knew it, it was like the end of the day, literally the end of the day. It's nighttime. I'm hungry again because we had lunch. And I'm like, I was like, this was a nice day. And he's like, you not hungry? I was like, I am. He's like, you got dinner plans? I said, no. He's like, then why don't we go to dinner? Okay. So we went to like TGI Fridays, whatever was nearby. So we go to dinner together. And we just keep on spending the evening together, We were together. From that day forward, I saw him every single day. Okay, Nakia Nard says, I love the details. Okay, I saw him every single day, every single week. Weeks turned to months. Before I knew it, I don't even think we had to have a conversation about, are we in a relationship? Thank you so much for sharing this video, Sandra, Xavier. We just, after a while, we just realized we were in a relationship. And as time went along, we went from being in a relationship, seeing each other every day, to eventually we're living together, right? It just was what it was. It just kept on progressing. And as it progressed, there were some things that I noticed that I didn't like. But because I loved our story, thanks to you so much, Phoenix Johnson, because I loved where I thought things were going, because I loved the potential I saw in him and in us, I guess I ignored some of those things. For example, when we would have a disagreement, he would completely shut down and walk out. I don't know where he would go. He would just leave. I'm not saying walk out of the room. I'm talking about just walk out of the apartment. You know, he would grab his keys and just leave. Maybe he'd come back in a half hour. Maybe he'd come back 4 hours later. I'd have no idea where he was. When I would text him like, hey, where are you? We need to talk. What's going on? No response. Sometimes he would even cut off his phone. Of course, when he would come back, he would bring something with him every time. Maybe he'd bring flowers. Maybe he would stop by Krispy Kreme's and bring my favorite donuts, right? Maybe he would bring something, back, and he would always come back. I'm so sorry. I just needed time to think. Or one time when he came back, I didn't care about the gifts. I didn't care about what he brought back with him. I was mad at this time. So I was so mad at him for leaving and doing all this stuff. Thank you so much, Sonia Senker, for sharing this video. That this time when he came through the door, I was like, I don't care what you have. I don't care about that. I don't want no flowers. I told you don't walk out on me again when we upset. And I just don't want to keep dealing with this. He broke down crying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He just drops it. I guess it was flowers, whatever he had in his hands. He just drops them down on the floor, like drops them at the door, and says, I'm sorry. I don't know how to deal with my anger and my pain sometimes, and I'm just so scared that if I don't walk away and just give myself time to breathe, I'm afraid that you're gonna leave me. Like I leave because I'm scared that you're gonna leave me, and I don't. What? But I'm listening, right? He's crying, right? And I just felt like, sometimes I just know that I said the wrong thing, and I just want to I'm really trying to give you time to calm down. Because when you be calling me, I be thinking this the call where you going to break up me. Because I don't deserve nobody like you. I don't deserve somebody like you. I don't deserve somebody like you. I don't. And I just be hoping maybe if I just give it time, you'll forget about how imperfect I am. And when I come back, it'll all be okay again. Girl. As much as my instincts, my psyche, and my discernment was telling me, boy, please. Having this big, tall, gorgeous man crying in front of me, girl, I couldn't help. I'm like, well, you need to. I understand, but you need to calm. Because as I'm trying to respond, he's hugging me, right? Like, please, crying on me. Sorry. Time went along. He would show a little bit of improvement, but not a lot. Devin Child said, describe what he looked like, girl. He may not have been the man of your dreams, but he was the man of mine. I told you he's about 6'3"-ish, maybe 6'2", 6'3". And I'm barely 5'7.5", okay? I'm not tall, okay? And so anyway, he was so tall. I remember when I would hug him, like if he leaned down to hug me, his chin is on my top of my head, okay? I think I'm like a caramel complexion, right? I'm darker than caramel, right? He was like, his skin color, actually perfect example. His skin color is like the color of my hair right here, right? Like a light brownish kind of color, right? His hair, he kept his hair cut low, not like low like I used to keep it, but long enough where you could see the waves in his hair. Like he kept it just long enough to see the waves, and it was like a taper fade and everything like that. He was always clean cut. like a slight mustache, no beard or nothing like that. Always very clean cut. The most smooth skin you could ever imagine. But the thing about him was not the fact that he went to the gym every day and you could tell it when you looked at him. That was not what made him stand out. Thank you so much, Belinda Revere. What made him stand out was his eyes. He would always comment about my eyes and say, your eyes are so deep. It's like you're looking into my soul. I felt the same way about his. You ever looked at someone whose eyes are just so strong and so powerful? That's how his eyes were. They were powerful. You know what I mean? So anyway, he was a handsome guy. I can't understate that enough. I can't, but he wasn't the kind of guy who walked around like he knew he was handsome. He's such a humble guy in his appearance. But after a while, when you're not happy and you feel like someone just really isn't responding to your emotions, because it's like whenever we had a disagreement, he would just leave. And I never knew where he was going. And this one time, enough was enough. Because this one time he left. And I was just so surprised that we even had an argument. It's like, I felt like he picked the argument with me. So he left. He left. But this time he didn't come back a half hour later. He didn't come back an hour later. He didn't come back 4 hours later. He didn't even come back 8 hours later. It was a full day. I didn't see him until the next day that evening. I had called him. I had texted him. At first, the calls went through, but then after a while, I realized my number was blocked because they stopped going through. And I knew it wasn't like he didn't pay his phone bill. He always took care of his bills. I never would have thought he wouldn't have paid his bill. And what are the chances that his phone stopped working the day he left and disappeared? Right? But on this particular day, he comes back. No flowers, no donuts, and certainly no tears. In fact, when he came in, he looked mad at me. Can you believe that? He opened the door. And I remember when he opened the door, he didn't slam it, but it kind of hit the wall a little hard, right? And I looked. Hello. Because the truth of the matter is I never left my house that day. It was a weekend. But I never left because I was like, I want to be here when he gets here. I said, hello. He ignored me. Thank you so much, Sabina, for my stars. And I said, hello. And he said, what's up? I said, where were you? He said, why are you even worried about that? If you were so worried about where I was at, you wouldn't have made me mad enough to leave yesterday. Thank you so much, Dayson Bree, for sharing this video, as well as Rhea Latson for sharing this video. I said, make you mad enough to leave? He's like, yeah, you always like to push my buttons. I don't know why you like to push my buttons like this. I ain't never had these type of issues in the relationships I had before you. You don't know how to appreciate a good thing. You so dramatic. You this, you that. And so what did? I did what like a lot of us do when we're not in tune with ourselves, when we don't understand that someone's trying to gaslight us. I start defending myself. And what I didn't realize is that when someone is toxic, they will pick arguments with you because they would rather argue with you and have you defending yourself than holding them accountable. Because while you are sitting up here defending yourself against their accusations, defending yourself against their ignorance, you're not doing the one thing that they absolutely don't want you to do, which is hold them accountable. I didn't realize that at the time. I said, me, blah, 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 blah. So now we're going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Doors are slamming. People are yelling. And then he leaves again. He leaves again. I ain't going to deal with this. I knew I should have never came back. No way. I don't even know why I'm in this. He leaves again. I ran after him in the hallway. I never had done that before. I ran after him in the hallway. Where are you going? Where are you going? Huh? What? You know what? You are immature. You are this, you are that. And he just walking. My neighbor then opened her door, looking out in the hallway to see what's going on. Is everything okay? She says. I saw her wearing her little pink and white house coat. Is everything okay? He then looks at my neighbor in the face, our neighbor, we live together at this point, and says, I'm sorry you had to experience this, but he's out of control. And points back at me like that. He's out of control. I was mortified because this behavior was beyond unacceptable. And now you trying to vilify me to my neighbor? She looked at me. She's an older woman, old black woman. She had lived in that place, in that building, that particular building for like, oh God, I think she said she lived there for almost 30 years. Thank you so much for sharing this video, y'all. And she says, baby, go back in that apartment now. She said that just like that to me. Baby, go back in that apartment now. At first, I thought she was mad at me, like I did something wrong. Thank you so much, Renata Blake, who shared this video. And we all share this video. Let me know you shared it. Say I shared so I can thank you. She says, go back in that apartment now. I said, but she said, now. And he looked back at me and smirked because I think he could see I was embarrassed. I was young. So I went back in the apartment. What else was I supposed to do? I went back. I kept calling him, trying to call him. Next thing I know, maybe 30 minutes later, wasn't that long later, maybe an hour at most, I hear at my door. He had a key, but maybe he's being dramatic. So I go to open the door, thinking it was him. I'm mad. I'm opening the door. And she's standing there with her house coat on. She said, come in now. Come in. Just like that. The woman standing at my door. Come in now. I said, She said, come here now. And she said, make sure that door don't lock behind you neither. So I grabbed my key. And so I went down and we go into her apartment. I had never been in her apartment, but she had one of those apartments, I could tell she lived there for 30 years. She had pictures all over the wall of her family, all types of stuff all over. You just have a house that I say, a well-seasoned home, like someone that lived there a long time. You could just feel the warmth and the love and smell the cooking. 30 years of cooking in that house, right? And so she said, when I got in her apartment, she was so kind. She said, baby, have a seat right here. And she had like a reclining chair, like one of those lazy boy recliners. You know what I mean? She says, have a seat right here. Thank you so much, Creola Ramings, for sharing this video, as well as Sandra Davis, who shared this video. She said, have a seat right here, baby, now. So I sat down, and she rocking in that chair. Thank you so much, Miss Foss, as well as Simone December, who shared this video, as well as Betty Doss. And she just looking at me like this as she rocking in that chair. And I'm looking at her like this. I'm embarrassed. I couldn't look at her in the eye too long. So every time I looked in the eye, I felt embarrassed. I just looked at her and she said, you ain't mad enough yet. I said, what you mean? She said, I said you ain't mad enough yet. I said, I'm hurt. I said, nah, baby, hurt ain't enough. You ain't mad enough yet. She said, this building's old, but the walls are thin. I've heard what y'all be talking about. I don't know how you lasted this long. Shit, I thought I ain't like him when I first saw him move in your apartment, but that ain't my business. I ain't talking about nothing. I ain't bringing up nobody else's business, but I'm gonna tell you now, honey. She said, you hurt. Hurt ain't enough, honey. You need to be mad. And she's looking at me like she had waited so long to tell me this, Rochelle Cotton, as well as Nevra Kelly, who just shared this video, right? And I said, but I love him. I don't want to be mad at him. I'm just hurt, and I want him to stop leaving every time we have an argument and tell me where he's going. I don't know where he's going. I don't know what he's doing. She said, does it matter? Does it matter? I said, does what matter? Where he's going. She said, when a man loves you, he don't leave you confused and wondering all the time. When a man loves you, he don't walk out on you. When a man loves you, he don't pick arguments as an excuse just so he can leave. You don't start all those arguments. I hear him. He be starting those arguments with you. I ain't gonna say you're stupid. You're young, though. You need to grow up. Thank you so much, Trisha LaBerge Swan, for sharing this video. I said, what you mean? I knew she had more to say. So I ain't trying to get nobody's business. But you know, y'all's parking space, your parking space is right beside mine. And I be seeing him in that car sometimes when he get home from work. You know, we sit in that car and be on the phone. Who you on the phone with while he can't come in the house? You see what I'm saying? He come home from work and sit in that car for a little while. And she says, you don't really notice, but sometimes after he sit in that car for a little while, he come in the house. And he pick an argument with you. I've seen it. I can count it like clockwork. So who he running off to go see him? Thank you so much, Jana Jones, for sharing this video. I said, what you mean? She said, baby, you're not stupid. You know exactly what I was saying. I ain't got proof, but something ain't right with him. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? She said, get gone. I said, what? She said, get gone. Get gone? What you mean? She said, baby, stop getting mad and just get gone. She said, she said, do you think that this is the person who was designed for you? Somebody who treats you like this? Y'all barely been together a year and a half. And it's like this. Imagine what's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you more in love with him and you that much more attached to him, and you definitely not going to leave then. If this what he doing now, the first couple of years, they supposed to be impressing you, treating you good. That's the honeymoon stage is what they call it, right? That's what they're supposed to call it, right? Do this feel like a honeymoon to you? I said, no, but you know, I don't want to just leave him like everybody else did. She said, everybody, what you mean everybody else? I said, you know, he said that his ex didn't treat him right, and he went through this and he went through that. And she said, well, baby, he the common denominator, don't you think? And she looked at me just like this in the eyes. Thank you for sharing this video. Oh, my God. Miss Snicker, I'm not going to say your full name. She shared my video to 3 groups that she's in. Thank you so much. And I thought about what she was saying. I said, what am I supposed to do? Get gone. I said, but it's my apartment. Put him out. I said, I'm supposed to end it? She said, baby, that man don't love you. He like you, but he don't love you. You just the one that's willing to tolerate him. You the one who's dumb enough to put up with it. Don't get mad. Get gone. Baby, let me tell you this, y'all. I heard her out. I said, what am I supposed to do now? She said, go in that house and empty his drawers, and to empty the drawers he got and put them in some bags. And when he come back here, have the bags in front of your door. I said, but he got a key. She said, you don't got a top lock inside the house you can lock so he can't get in? I said, yeah. She said, lock that top lock so he can't get in there. And just leave it outside the door. Rather you come back an hour from now or 2 days from now, lock that top lock. And she says, and another thing. I said, what? She said, you always have an extra lock in your house so you can change out a lock. She says, there's 2 things you always got to know how to do when you got a man living up in your house. I said, what? She says, always learn how to change a tire because some of them don't know how to do it. I said, okay, and what else? She says, and always know how to change a lock. I said, listen to me, baby. She says, and you need to come on over here. I lived across from you all this time, and you ain't never really came to say hi to me, but you come on by here whenever you want to. I said, okay. So I did just that. I went back in there. He only had like 2 drawers worth of stuff. Like, he didn't have a lot of stuff in there, right? Because he still had his old apartment, even though he never really was there. But he had like his old apartment. I think he rented out one of the rooms to a friend, but technically he could still go there if he wanted to. So I took his drawers and stuff and I dumped it into the bags and everything like that. Went in the bathroom, got his toothbrushes, all that kind of stuff. I put it in the bags and I just went ahead and put it outside the door. Honey, you would have thought, oh my Lord, you would have thought, baby, I was a little kid waiting on Christmas morning, waiting on him to arrive. Hours went by. Then in the wee hours of the morning, I hear the door jiggling like he's trying to unlock the door. He's shaking it like the key stuck. It ain't stuck. It just ain't opening because I got the top lock on it, right? So then, next thing I know, my phone starts ringing. I'm laying there on the couch. Girl, the ringer was on so he could hear it through the door. He said, I hear the phone ringing there, answer it. I answered it. Hello? Thank you for the stars, Ann Ezel. Hello? Open the door. You put the top lock on it? Why would you put the top lock on it if I ain't home? And what my stuff doing out here? I said, this ain't your home. Take your stuff to your home. He said, man, quit playing. Open the door. He's shaking the door. And he wasn't a violent man. I wasn't worried about him breaking the door or nothing like that. You know, he wasn't going to do nothing like that. He was a professional, right? Always date somebody who got something to lose. Because even on their worst day, they still going to keep it in check, right? When somebody ain't got nothing to lose, they'll help you lose everything, okay? So he's shaking the door. Now he's whispering because he don't want the neighbors to hear in the wee hours in the morning that he locked out, basically. And I said, this isn't your home. You need to go to whatever your home is. And then he tried to turn sweet. Now, baby, why are you doing this? Come on now. Why are you embarrassing me like this? The neighbor's going to hear this. Come on, let's just talk. Let's just talk this through. I mean, I'm sorry I left. I told you I'm going to start therapy, and I am. In fact, I'm supposed to start in about a week or so. I got the name of somebody. Just open the door. Just open the door, right? And a part of me, when I heard therapy, because I've been begging him to go to therapy, I was like, oh, really? I was like, no, he lying. And then so I said, you need to leave. You need to leave. I don't think you should be here. You need to leave. You don't love me no more? You know how they try to trap you with that? Thank you so much, Deborah Lewis, who just shared this video. He said, you don't love me no more or something? Is that what you're telling me? When you love somebody, it's hard to lie to them. I said, it's not that I don't love you, but he said, then just open the door so we can talk. If you can tell me you don't love me no more, I promise you I'll leave and I'll never come back. But if you love me and I love you, don't you think we deserve to even talk to each other? After all this time, don't we at least owe that to each other? So I go to the door. But you know how we got I had the top lock and I got the little latch where you open it so the door can't open all the way. Like the little thing you got on it. So I go open the door just like this. And he sort of had that on it too. And he's like, so you really not going to open the door? And I'm peeking through. I was like, I just don't think it's a good idea for you to be here. And before I can get it out, my neighbor, Miss Thing, opens the door. I hear her open the door real fast. And I couldn't see her because I'm just peering through the door, but I could hear her. And she comes out, young man, you need to go back to wherever you came from. Now you heard him. He said you don't live here no more. Thank you so much, Zabina, who just shared it on WhatsApp to her sister. She just shared this video. When y'all share this video, let me know you shared it. Now, you heard him. He said, you don't live here no more. Now, you need to go on to where you come from. He said, man, with all due respect, we having a private conversation. Ain't nothing private about it. Y'all talking in this hallway here. I hear every part of this conversation. Ain't nothing private about you doing it in a common area. Ain't nothing private about it. I'm telling you, go on home. Because to me, it looked like you're trespassing. Now, she couldn't pronounce my name well. My name was Malcolm. Malcolm? That's how the folks in the South call my name. Malcolm? Malcolm? You want him in your house? He looks through the little door that was open. He said, baby, open the door. I love you. Everybody go through hard times. Let's work on this. Don't throw this away. Before I could even say, I don't know. Now, Malcolm, I ask you a question. Is this what you want? And the way she said, is this what you want? I knew she wasn't asking me, do you want him in your house? She was asking, do you want this trauma, this drama, and this continual onslaught of pain in your life? Thank you for sharing this video, Carolyn Malone. And Moon Quinn, thank you for sharing it. And when she asked it like that, it hit my spirit because I knew that this was not what I wanted. We're going to call her Miss Jenkins. That's right, Phyllis Cribs. We're going to call her Miss Jenkins. When Miss Jenkins asked, is this what you want? I knew that this was not what I wanted in my life. So I immediately just pushed the door real fast, closed. He wasn't near it enough to get hurt. So I pushed it closed and it's closed. I didn't have the nerve in me to say I didn't want him. So I closed it real fast. And then I yelled through the door. I said, please leave. And then Miss Jenkins said, young man, it's time for you to go. I could hear him rolling that luggage down the hall. I could hear him hit the door, hit the, the elevator. I heard the ding when it came. And I heard him leave. No more than a couple moments after that bell rang, my door, I opened the door. I knew it was Miss Jenkins. As soon as I opened the door, she grabbed me and just hugged me. And she said, she hugged me so tight. I'm just hugging her. And she kissed me on my forehead and said, baby, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. She says, now I don't know what you're going to do tomorrow because y'all young folks take them back all the time. But at least know tonight that you did a good thing. I said, I'm not taking them back. And she looked at me and grabbed me by my shoulders and looked at me and she says, you not? Like suspiciously, like, are you sure? I said, no, I'm gone. I'm done. I'm going to tell y'all this right now. When you've had enough, when they've hurt you deeply, and this is not just about romantic relationships, this can be friends, this can be family, it can be anybody. When they've hurt you deeply enough, when you're tired of being mad, what you're going to finally do is get gone. You'll find a way. If you got to leave in the middle of the night when nobody knows it, if you got to block their number, if you got to never talk to them again, whatever you got to do, you will get gone. When you know that you deserve better, and when you know you're not being treated in a way that reflects what you deserve, at some point in time, you'll stop getting mad and you'll get gone. Thank you so much for sharing this video, Angela Jefferson, and all the other people who shared this video. Click like and click share. And until next time, don't get mad. Get gone.